Well, Tesla loaned me this car, which is pretty close, honestly, to Pearl, which is in the shop still. They're very backed up. They've got a bunch of cars they're working on, so they just said, you know what, we're sorry this is taking so long. Here, have a loaner and, do what you need to do with it. So I'm very thankful to everybody at the Tesla Service Center for being so friendly, so accommodating. I can tell that they need all the help they can get, but I also asked them specifically, can I get any other kind of loaner? It would be fun just in the meantime to have a Model Y, or of course it would be great to have a Model S or X loaner, but nope, this was pretty much the last one they had available, and honestly, pretty much the closest thing they had to my car. It's a white on white Model 3. The only difference is mine is from 2022, and this one is from 2020, even though it has less miles. This only has 26,000 miles on it, so I don't know if it was a loaner for most of its life, but definitely not getting a ton of mileage. To have only 26K after 4 years is pretty good. In fact, I made sure it's exactly 4 years. It was made in the month of June in 2020, and a lot of things haven't changed, and yet at the same time, a lot of things have. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the differences I've been able to find coming from a fairly long-term owner of a rear-wheel drive Model 3, now in a dual-motor long-range Model 3. But with the same color combinations, we can see exactly what Tesla has changed over the years. So first off, immediately noticed once I started using the steering wheel that they have this seam here. I think this was back when they were using a little bit more animal product in the vehicle, but I actually prefer the newer design where there's no seams and it's just one singular piece all the way around. This is an easy way to tell if it's an older vehicle. Also, the scroll wheels here, they used to be rubber, and on these they are still rubber, but on mine they are metallic, which gives it a little bit more of a premium feel. But with all vehicle design choices, everything is a little bit of a compromise, I have to admit. So while I like the premium metallic feel of my scroll wheels, one nice perk of these is they're much quieter, I feel like, when clicking them around. They don't make as much noise as the metallic ones, and I also noticed that in the extreme heat, the metal ones take a lot longer to cool down. So if I come out to my car, even after preconditioning it, the metal of the scroll wheels will stay hotter for far longer than the rubber does. So a little bit of a pro, a little bit of a con there. Also, even though I have the white interior myself, this car has a little bit of a different white interior approach. They kind of built it into the door here. It never actually touches the white beam across the dash. Whereas in my car, it's all connected. You have a little bit more of a door accent up here, less of a kind of white leathery material, which is interesting. I've actually never been in an older white Tesla like this. I didn't realize that the door material was the same as the seats. I always thought it was kind of a white Alcantara texture. Maybe it was on a different year, but at least on this one, the door is quite a bit different. We also have piano black down here instead of matte black. This was before they put the door buttons on here because so many people were getting confused on how to get out of the door. And while piano black is not really my favorite look, I will admit it feels kind of nice. The glossiness to it is a little bit refreshing. It might just be the fact that it's different from the car that I'm used to, but I definitely can confess that this old center console design was very fingerprinty, collects lots of scratches. My wife likes the functionality of it. It's cool that you can hide the wireless chargers behind it. This one does have wireless charging still, but it is a little bit up to date because the back seat still has USB-C ports, which my buddy Randy's Model 3 did not, and I know that was kind of a big deal for him, so I'm glad we still have Type-C in this car, even with the dated center console design. Also, this was before they added the heat pump to the Model 3, so we have the resistive heater in here. Also involves the AC cooling down very, very fast, which is nice. One feature I'm definitely missing, though, right out the gate is the 2020 Model 3 did not have a powered trunk. So even though, I can unlatch it from the display, I have to lift it and close it myself. How will I move on? But I'm a sucker for tiny, insignificant details, and one thing that really stood out to me when I got in this car when I started using the sun visors is it uses an old-fashioned sun visor hook mechanism, whereas in my car, they kind of use the same thing that's in the Model Y. It's a magnet, and it just kind of rubs against that magnetic puck. My wife actually prefers the old-fashioned hook design, but I don't know, something about it feels very cheap to me. It's very plasticky, and in my old Hyundai Sonatas, we had sun visors with that traditional hook design that would break all the time. So I really loved that little detail on newer Teslas, that it's just a magnet, so there's not really a hook or anything to break, but little detail there. Also, this does not have the AMD Ryzen processor powering the main infotainment, which was instantly noticeable as soon as I got in the car because I use the repeater cameras a lot. And in the Intel processor days, those repeater cameras did not show up very quickly. It's usually like a full second between I signal and then the camera feed pops up. Actually, that's a good example. Signal there. So you can see there's a little bit of a delay, whereas on the AMD Ryzen Teslas, it's almost like that. It's almost instantaneous. Same thing with the backup cameras, like on here, you push it once, takes a second for those repeater cameras to queue up, whereas with the AMD Ryzen Teslas, they're there the second you press it. It's very fast, very snappy compared to this. Although this car does have premium connectivity, which is nice. So I get the satellite view, I get the music streaming, I can watch YouTube directly over cellular. But again, the YouTube app takes way, way longer to load on this car because of the Intel processor. So I'm very grateful that my personal car still has the AMD Ryzen chip, so we get the infotainment upgrade and all that. The driving dynamics is definitely a little bit different with the dual motor. I can feel a little bit more of a pull sensation when I'm accelerating and stuff. And my God, the acceleration on this thing is crazy. This model specifically has the acceleration boost, which I believe does 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds flat. It's insane. Whoa! They're not my tires. I don't understand why people need to go faster than that. This thing is super punchy, and yet they didn't want to include floor mats. I don't know if it's a loaner vehicle thing, but no floor mats up here, just traditional rubber pedals. No floor mats in the front or the trunk or even in the back row. And I'm like, 26,000 miles? Why not? Just throw in some floor mats in this thing. I really don't get it. But of course, the acceleration is killer. I haven't had a chance to supercharge it yet, but I'm sure it supercharges much faster. Overall, though, I got to admit, even though this is a used car and it's got a few thousand miles on it and it's 4 years old, it's still an overall great machine. There's nothing really about it that would steer me away from buying it if I was in the market. Like if I never bought my 2022 Model 3, heck yeah, I would easily drop $20,000 or so on a vehicle like this. Nice big battery pack, lots of range. Even though it's not LFP, you still just have so much more energy to work with, and the acceleration is killer. This thing really picks up, and the sound that the motors make is really, really satisfying. The cameras are still fantastic. It still has access to the Hardware 3 full self-driving computer and all that, so all of those great Tesla Vision features that you want to take advantage of, you have here. Also love the fact that all of my driver settings just synced over the cloud, so I could pair this car to my phone and control it, and all of my settings just it remembered from my last car. So, you know, if Tesla's gonna have long wait times at the service center and they're not interested in hiring more people to help them out, then I think the best overall solution is probably just have a crap ton of loaner vehicles, and while people are waiting for their car to get fixed, they get to experience a slightly different vehicle, and maybe that gets their gears turning about, oh, I want to upgrade, or I want to spend the extra money on this feature or that feature. This is an opportunity for Tesla to try to upsell me on some more features, which isn't a bad idea. Like, for example, in my car, this speaker does nothing. It's just physically there, but it doesn't actually have a speaker behind it. It's just a grate. Whereas in this car, we have the immersive audio package, and I can tell a difference. It's a little noticeable. I tend not to bring it up in videos a lot because I'm like, okay, usually there's like a $7,000 to $8,000 price gap between standard range and long range, and I don't think you should spend an extra $7,000 just for a slightly better sound system. The partial premium sound system is still amazing and very, very good, but this one is just a little bit better. And nowadays, when there's only $1,000 price gap between the rear-wheel drive and the long range, heck yeah, if you were buying a new Model 3 today, absolutely just go for the long range. The all-wheel drive is worth it. Better sound system, of course, and the extra battery capacity is totally worth it now that it qualifies for the federal tax credit. So yes, I absolutely recommend the long range in today's pricing. Could change tomorrow. You know, it changes all the time. When I was in the market, there was a huge price gap between rear-wheel drive and long range, and that's why I ended up going with rear-wheel drive. Plus, I plan on owning that vehicle for, decades and decades, so having the lithium iron phosphate battery pack was kind of important to me. There was no federal tax credit back then either. So it's a very different world now. And that's why I'm grateful we have YouTubers to help us figure out what the best vehicle deals are at different times in the year, because these things are always changing. Tesla prices change, tax credits change and all that. But overall, this is still a fantastic vehicle. And if you're looking for a used one available right now, yeah, this thing is great, honestly. There's little details that I'm like, oh, this isn't quite as good as my car, but other details that I'm like, you know what, actually, that's kind of nice. That's actually a little bit better. It definitely does not have the Matrix LED headlights. I could tell that just by looking at them. But again, the software really hasn't even come to my car yet to take advantage of those LEDs. I actually got pushed the curved LED headlight update right as the vehicle was getting towed into service. So once I get my Model 3 back, I'll be able to test out the LED advantages. But if you never had those in the first place, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't notice. The other big design difference, of course, on the exterior is the chrome trim, which now seeing it up close, I don't hate it as much as I used to. I think humans just like change. Now that I've seen chrome delete for so long, it's actually kind of refreshing seeing chrome on the Model 3 again. I don't know. It's kind of a nice look. My wife likes it too, but I'm definitely not going to sell my current car just so I could buy one of these or something. Like, I'm happy with the vehicle I have, and if you're in the market, I think this one is absolutely worth considering. It's a good year. I like that it's still got the Type-C in the back seat, and the faster charging in the big battery pack in itself make it totally worth it. I just really hope Tesla eventually brings back the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3, because that thing's probably going to be looking at over 350 miles of range based on the EPA's new test cycle, and oof, that's going to be an efficiency beast. That thing's going to be hard to beat. Okay, last little detail that I just remembered is that this steering wheel is not heated, whereas mine is, which I don't notice this time of year because it's super hot right now. But yeah, in the winter months, I do actually really appreciate the heated steering wheel. So that is something you'd miss out on the 2020 Model 3. But what do you guys think? Would you rather just buy new and get the refreshed, or would you rather save 10, 15, maybe $20,000 by going with a used Model 3? All your thoughts, let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.